So recently I moved out of my studio, and I was just appreciating your space here.
Thank you, sir.
By the way, you did a great job here.
Appreciate it.
Very comfy. I feel the vibe here. Very comfortable. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
It's been taking me a little while for me to kind of like get everything together, but it's always a work in progress, you know.
Yeah, everything is. I mean, there's no such thing as perfection, right?
I mean,
I mean,
so far, it
I
hasn't
mean,
been
I
like
guess
that.
in everybody's eyes, it's a different definition, but I would call this perfection. Look at this thing. This is beautiful, bro.
Thank you, brother. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
It's a cool looking piece.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I've seen it before
Deborah's
at
house.
Deborah's house.
One day during COVID, Deb goes, so I did an open house, and I found this painting. I mean, not this painting, but this picture. And she goes, I wanna see if you can do something about it, like if you can find it or something. I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. I'm like, what is the painting about? Or I mean, what is the photography about? So she told me, she goes, is this girl that has a flower in her mouth. And I'm like, all right, let me see what I can do. Went online, looked it up, found it, and I'm like, is this it? She's like, oh my god, that's the one. She goes, it looks so rock and roll, edgy, right? And it happens to be that it's a model. Is this girl from Australia? I want to say she's half Croatian, half Australian.
Hmm.
It is a transsexual. It is actually a guy.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's borderline for sure.
But it's sick, dude. I mean, I just love that.
Oh no, the
whole-
energy, the
right?
fuck it, dude. It's a great.
It
maybe.
is really fucking cool.
It's raw.
It's raw. It transcends. Like it doesn't. It's just not like it's either the 60s, 70s, 80s. It can be either or. It can be any
Great.
given time, bro.
Great.
But going back to what you were telling me about your studio, bro. So you had a studio, right?
I did have a studio. So basically, we had a studio. We named it the Cabin, and Cabin stood for capture, amplify, broadcast, interact, and network.
Okay.
And that was what the space was created for. So create live events. We did live streaming there for different live acts, everything from music to live performance. We actually, if anybody remembers during the pandemic,
The pandemic.
well, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, that was the reason we created this. I created the space. Was I saw where things were going, and right before it was happening, I created the space to be sort of like a speakeasy, get together space for artists, my friends, which a lot of my friends are musicians. I've been playing music my whole life. So I think from music, and then my friend who had done live streaming for national acts had the knowledge, so we had got the equipment and built a place during 2020 when everything was shut down. We were having a great old time, honestly, and learning equipment and recording and doing live streaming and figuring out the equipment, like these cameras and these lenses and what are we did. But the quality was like mind blowing. Using like 6K, 4K quality. It's like you can reach into the screen and it's a trip. So
That was cool.
I really appreciate just gear and it's a cool spot, man. That was the cabin. And then we had an issue with our landlords renewing the lease, so we had to move out of that space, and now that's what we were talking about right before we came on, and just trying to get rid of stuff and giving stuff away, and and sort of stripping everything down. Like I used the phrase, getting rid of everything that's not bolted down.
Right. Right.
Because when you have a space, right, you start
Accumulating so much stuff, man.
Yeah,
you think that you do not.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, you have so much shit all
Yeah.
over the place. You're like, how in the fuck did I come up with so much stuff?
Yeah, and I go through these phases where I like accumulate stuff because I'm building a project or have an idea, or when I built that space, it was like there's TV screens and there's projectors and there's LED lighting and there's things that you wouldn't even think when you're building a space. I mean, and obviously because
Mm-hmm.
not only building a space but then building an actual vehicle to for your voice, whether it's music recording or video or audio or
Right.
so yeah, it takes a lot It's a lot. It's a lot of things. You got cables and clamps, and, and you're just the next thing you know, and then you're moving out. You're like, whoa! I have all this stuff. I have a container on my driveway right now. I have my garage, and I have another room that's filled. It was filled from top to bottom. Like you couldn't even, tap in there. You're like, where do I start? And now I finally have been chipping away at it for the last, it's been probably 9 months.
Okay.
And
so, did any of your buddies that you did this stuff with? Did they took any of this stuff?
Yeah. A lot of some of my buddies that are using the video equipment, they're doing projects. They're actually working on some pretty good projects. There's I don't know if you heard of the Obama play.
No.
It's called 44.
Okay.
It's like kind of a comedy theatrical,
it's like a satire type of thing.
I guess, but it's done pretty well here in LA.
Okay.
And so they do all the audio video for that using that equipment. So now we take it and we use it for mobile gigs and different things like that. Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. I mean, I didn't have a chance to really dive into the equipment. I'm more in audio.
Right.
But so they have that gear. They have some of the recording stuff, and I have some of the stuff, like I said, filled up. And when I do different gigs, whether it's live audio or pro audio, then I pull everything together, throw it into my truck, and on the road.
Gotcha. So you DJ, right?
I DJ too. Yeah.
And how did that came about? Like what? Like
man, DJing, man.
Yeah,
DJing.
how the whole thing started,
That's such a weird 2 letters now, because everybody's a DJ, and
right.
It's become so different than what it used to be. I mean, that's a whole show right there, just talking about DJing and what is, like, really, what is a DJ? And I started in 1999.
All right.
My friend Omar Ojeda, who was a techno DJ, and very skilled guy. He actually goes by Darius Aquarius. That's his DJ name. He just DJ'd in LA at Relove, the park. Okay. He's great. He's skilled, super skilled. So he was kind of like my mentor and showed me and got me into that. And I was already into that. In that time, I just still in how old was I there? I mean, just early 20s. So just discovering raves and all the stuff. And now I meet these guys that are been in the scene and know the biggest names in the game when it comes to techno and trance and jungle and all these different genres. Back then, there were still early, and now you have 100 subgenres that have come in since then. Dude. 100, honestly. Yeah. So that was my intro, was that and starting to throw raves like in 1999, 1998, doing events, and then it. And then what really catapulted my DJing was, so my first, I say my first love, sometimes everybody has their first love, whether it's with a person or with something,
right,
sport or an art, was music. And at an early age, I, would sing in the car, Kiss FM, Southern California, singing all the pop hits, and I grew up to Beatles. My dad played guitar. And we'd sing Beatles songs, and it was always on the radio, Beatles and oldies, but mostly Beatles, but a lot of oldies. Right. And that was really my love for music came from that, and I was just always remember singing my heart out in the car in the back seat while my mom was driving. So that was really my first sort of like love. I remember like that feeling of like, whoa, it's something so powerful, like just that voice and that. Finding I'm in this pitch, and you feel, I don't know from the outside if I sound good or not, but like from the inside, it feels good.
It felt good for you.
It feels good. You're like, oh, this feels good, So that really, and then from there it was at an early age, my parents got me a drum kit, which if you have any parents out there, it's like you think it's a good idea, but it's rough. It's rough. I've it's rough. But now we have electric drums, so people put on the headphones, and it's actually way more fun because you can get bored. You just change the sound. You're like, I got 400 different kits. Even on the cheapest kits, electric kits that you buy now, you got 99 different kits, or even let's say 50. You're like playing different things. So different sounds when you're playing the drums, and it makes it more fun.
And not just that, it also is not as bulky, correct?
Yeah, and you have headphones on.
Got headphones on. It's not as bulky, and
It's pretty cool.
it has come a long
It's
ways.
it's not as fun, in my opinion, as the real thing.
Yeah.
When you got some nice tuned drums and you're slamming on them. So that became my first. Then that was my first instrument, and that was like music. That was it. I was like, what else is there? I mean, music and skateboarding.
Right.
At that time when I was that young. And then eventually, the reason I got into DJing, like I said, I met Omar. And what happened was I was playing in bands my whole life, starting at an early age. Junior high, high school, had bands. Out of high school, and then when I'm trying to remember what it was this band that I had. We had broken up. And I remember took so much effort to try to put something together, to want to play out and play music. Nowadays, it's a lot easier. You can be by yourself, and you got loop machines, and you got, all these things that you can go out with, and be creative. Back then you had to be really creative to try to do something live if you were a one-man guy.
Right.
And we're in computer programs where you can be like, play my background track. It was like, no, you got to be creative. So being a DJ back then too is like I could be in control of the gig. I could be in control of the practice time. I don't have to wait for the bass player and the guitar player and the singer and who if there's and sometimes there's multiple. We had a percussionist in multiple bands. A backup singer, horns. So you're waiting. It's hard to put that schedule and then book gigs and then,
rely on having to rely on these people that
it's tough. So that's why a lot of bands don't make it, and they don't stay together. If bands stay together, like most time, you'll find a way to make a living if you're consistent and you don't break up, which is the number one reason bands don't make it because they break up, right?
Yep.
And so that was kind of like an epiphany to me. I was like, wow, I could just go out and get gigs and play out, and I don't need to. And also, I need to pay 2 or 3 other guys.
Right.
So, and now, and back then it was like when you had that skill and you had all the equipment, because the equipment wasn't cheap. You needed, back then you had 2 techniques. Those even back then were, $1,200 a piece, $800 if you could find them used, and then a mixer, and then you bring all that gear on. You got your, so it just was a lot to for people back then. Now it's like, controllers and these things, they can come out and, it's a lot different now. So, but yeah, that's DJing. It's an interesting thing. It's fun.
Okay, you mentioned earlier, right? And when you were talking about music, and we all have a very memorable time in our lives that we listen to their song, like you say, a band or something that really catches your ear and you love it. In this case, you mentioned the Beatles, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear, what what your point of view is when it comes down to my point of view when it comes to the Beatles. I know the Beatles are the shit, right? I mean, the Beatles are like such an, if not the most influential band up to date, correct?
But yeah, if not, then at least one, sure. And there's even conspiracy around that. But sure, let's keep going.
Okay, well. I mean, what I'm trying to say is like they are not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, it was a genius, kids, and I was watching. It was a very small documentary. It was something that I watched on YouTube about this kid. His producer. They call him the fifth Beatle.
Oh yeah.
Was it I want to say he was his producer.
Sure.
He was like the mastermind behind everything.
Yeah.
I don't recall his name. Maybe I can look it up right now.
Yeah, sir.
But
hold on. Yeah,
let's see if you can.
He was the producer, right? It's
yeah. Let's see. Let's look it up.
Something Sir something Martin.
Yes, something Martin.
Yes. I'm drawing a blank right now. Yeah, I used to be
George Martin.
Yeah.
George Martin.
Yes.
I mean, he was like the mastermind.
Sir George Martin.
These are 17-year-old kids, right? working with, right?
So sure, and you know, it's actually funny you say that. So recently, you know, a lot of and even back in the day, you know, artists, producer. Like I don't know if you ever saw the interview with Quincy Jones, where he throws everybody under the bus. I mean, he is like
No.
throwing Michael Jackson under the bus, throwing the Beatles under the bus, and there's like oh man, I'm going to just be embarrassed. I can't remember his name right now. Preston, no, I think it's no, it's something. He's actually one of the drummers that recorded some of those famous Beatle tracks that people think Ringo Starr played.
Mm.
And
I
like
have
people
heard
would be
something about that.
crushed. People would be
Yes.
crushed to know that almost
look it
all
up.
the records. Yeah.
Let's look it up.
Drummer that played on Beatles tracks. Percy. The Percy. Anyway, my point being that you would be surprised, Leo, at how many artists, how many records that you've heard on the radio in your life where the people that you think are playing those instruments are not playing those instruments.
Really?
That's like a very like well-kept secret in the music industry, but it's not that well-kept anymore because with the internet, I mean, people know the discographies. You can look them up. People see what.
There's a few names that come out here. It's going to be Pete Best, Norman Chapman,
Well, Pete Best was their first drummer.
Tommy Moore,
No.
Jimmy Nicole.
No. I gotta find it. I'll send it to you. But anyway,
Okay.
yeah, these guys don't all play on their records. Like you'll be surprised. Like there's like a handful of working musicians that play on all those records, and there's documentaries that have been made about it. I'll send you some that are just brilliant, like about that stuff. And it shows you like how music industry is an industry. Just like anything else, just like big pharma.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like it really is.
The
It comes out.
movies,
And it's
Hollywood.
changed. It's changed, in the sense that now you have the internet and you have all these. But even like these guys, who's this guy, the recently guy that I'm like feel like usually I'm good with these names and like
It's so good.
yeah, it's because these lights are on. Huh?
It happens.
These
Talk to
the
me,
guy
which
who
one
just
I can-
wrote that song about freedom, he's playing the guitar and everyone's
Prince?
following him around. No,
No,
just
wait,
the
no.
new guy and the country guy that.
Oh, yes,
what's his
yeah.
name?
That,
So anyway, regardless, my point being that
Right.
so he was able to do it without a label, right? And he's got these places, but even him, like he's going to these big places, and you still got like these scalpers, and you got these ticket agents, and all of a sudden his tickets go up to $60, $100, and he's just like, nope, I'm canceling the show. I'm gonna go play over here in the park for free. Everyone come see me.
Really?
Right? Yeah. So
mean,
it's powerful, but you're not seeing them. They're getting no coverage, besides whatever their 15 minutes of fame when their videos go viral, and people are pushing them around. But it's without that big industry really backing you and putting you in those prime spaces and advertisements and
All their marketing.
TV shows and
Yeah.
all the marketing,
All
and
the big
then
marketing.
you're not part of that machine. It's difficult, but there's plenty of bands that that are working bands that are very successful that do it. Without the music labels, or what people call the dinosaurs.
Right.
People say labels are dinosaurs.
Right.
But yeah, it's few and far in between, and these streaming stations aren't really paying pennies on for streams to even like the
Dude,
biggest
they
artists.
are, man.
Yeah, it's a trip. Music's
They
a
are.
trip. It's a trip.
So
It's a labor of love, man.
it truly is,
It
man. I mean, I
truly
think
is.
when it comes down to any kind of art, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like even when it comes down to this type of art, I mean, you have to know people.
yeah,
It's
Again,
it's sadly, but it's
marketing. There's the viral effect. There's marketing. There's so many factors. But yeah, at the end of the day, you do have to know people, or you have to know how to get to people,
yeah,
which either the right people or to the masses.
right,
And there's formulas out there.
yeah.
I haven't quite figured them all out
Right.
but they're out there.
All right, so like going back to the Beatles, and like I say, my comment was just that. It's like it's just not. I mean, of course, they have so many great songs, and obviously the most popular ones, which are the ones that I like, right?
Sure.
But other than that, people, just rave and they're like, "Oh, the Beatles is the greatest band ever."
Yeah, no, there's some fanatics out there,
Right?
and you know what? Like, I mean, you can make an argument for so many different bands that you could say that for. So I mean, at the end of the day, we all know it's a matter of taste.
Exactly.
But Beatles seem to have been a big one in American history.
Yeah.
In our era, from here back to 40. What is it? How many? 50, 60 years now?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. They made a big impact. Regardless, it's like people, whether you like them or not, they made a big impact.
Yeah.
On music and.
And I think that's what it was. It was the fact that they were these British kids, and
you're like, well, I mean, so you lived around here, so
yeah,
in Costa Mesa. I mean, you grew up in Costa Mesa and Santa Ana.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so you remember Volcom?
Yes,
Volcom. I mean, do you remember them? But back then, when they were coming up, we're talking like 97,
98,
96,
yeah, around that time.
Just starting, right? They're just building momentum, like and just starting to blow up. That sort of like vibe that was going on here, right? Well, the CEO or the guy who started the company, and I'm drawing a blank again. He would ask, and this is just what I heard from and this is just the myth, the folklore. I don't know if it's true or not. I've never confirmed this, but I always thought this was cool. So when he would do his hiring process, he would ask at the end of the interview, he'd ask them the potential person he would employ, he'd ask them one last question: Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Shut up, really?
And he wouldn't tell them.
Right,
and he'd ask
right,
them, and then if you weren't a Rolling Stones guy, you didn't get hired at Volcom. If you did Beatles,
really?
So it's kind of like that. I always felt there was always kind of that, which one are you, bro? Which one? What kind of rock and roll are you? Are you pop or are you rock?
Exactly.
But I just, for me, it was just spoon fed to me. So, but I'm a music lover. I mean, I listen to everything pretty much that there is. So
was it Richard Wolcott?
Richard Wilcott
and Tucker Hall?
For what? For who?
For Volcom.
Richard Wilcott. That's what I heard. It might be a rumor.
I
mean, yeah, I should research that.
I mean, we
myself
don't. I mean,
it doesn't even matter.
Exactly, this is the place. I mean, we're not gonna fucking have.
No.
This is all.
No, we're not fact checking.
It's all exactly. It's all anecdotal.
You don't have the guy fact checking here.
No,
one of your guys.
Took the day off.
Oh, dang.
I took the day off. This is all anecdotal. It's like, hey, but for example, when it comes down to that type of that era of music, because the Beatles were like mid 60s, right? Mm-hmm. To like mid 70s. We're like 60s.
When did they write everything? Is it like? It's a great question. Obviously before I was born, but I want to say late 50s, early 60s. They were only together like 4 years or 5 years.
Holy shit! Yeah, no, it was actually like the beginning of the 60s.
What was the years? 61.
63.
63 to 60 what? They weren't together that long.
To 70. 63 to 70.
Well, when did that's only 7 years. When did John Lennon get
I think he got killed in 71, no?
Yeah, something like that. So they were broken up right before that, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. There's 7 years. Think about that.
No, wait. No. Oh. John Lennon got killed in 1980.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
80, huh? Oh yeah. I mean, he did all that stuff with Yoko and all that solo
and then he
stuff.
was his solo stuff.
Yeah. Imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a trip.
No, actually, 1960. That's when they started.
60.
And then they broke up. Let's see, 1974. So 14 years.
I thought they were together for a short time for some reason. Yeah, they put out a lot of albums. Made a lot of noise back then.
For me, I'm just trying to figure out exactly when he died. but I want to say 1960. Yeah, December 8th of 1980. I was about about 2 weeks old.
Oh,
He
yeah?
passed away, yeah.
I was 3 years old,
Oh, yeah.
so I don't remember that.
But anyways, going back to that, it's like for me, what the bands that really stood up the most, and obviously it wasn't, it wasn't until I realized that it was Pink Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
What are your
that's
thoughts on
great.
Pink Floyd?
I mean, it's an epic. It's an epic
Right?
band. Yeah, they have some pretty amazing albums
Dude.
and amazing songs. And I've had a lot of amazing experiences with Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a music lover. I mean, we can I know you're a Tool fan.
Dude.
Huge Tool fan, right?
Yeah, and this actually, as a matter of fact, this piece right here, I got it. That's one of their collectibles that they came out with, like, about 2 years ago. The crazy thing about that,
That's
and
cool.
the reason why I
Collectors.
bought this thing, is a trip. When I was in high school, and I want to say it was 95, 96. It came to my dream. I remember I dreamed it, and then I started drawing it. I want to see if I can still have the drawing. It was a fetus inside of skull.
That's cool.
And in 2001, when they came out with the album Lateralis in 2000, they came up with this art. Bro. I was like, what the fuck? That is so rad.
Yeah, no, they have cool
You
art.
know,
man.
their art is just
Yeah.
like super trippy.
A lot
super
of their Alex
trippy.
Gray stuff's just amazing.
That guy, it's in a fucking different level, right? With his, I think what is it, psilocybin or DMT, right?
What's that?
That he
The
does.
realms. I mean, I'm sure he does everything. I met him in Florida, Miami, Florida, at Art Basel in 2022,
Okay.
and he was working on this piece that was. I mean, how long is that? 20, 40, probably like 50. I think it was 100 feet.
Holy shit.
Up,
dude.
and I have a video of it. I'll have to show it
Really?
to you. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I met him and his wife, and we got there kind of early to the event, and because I knew he was going to be working on the piece, and I don't like bothering people. Like I'm not really like starstruck kind of guy. I met a good amount of fair share of whatever you want to call celebrities, stars, and so I didn't want to like just go in there and be like, oh, let's take a picture together. So.
Yeah.
But it was just like this moment. My friend was there, and I was like, Alex, I like your work. There wasn't that many people around, and he was really nice, really kind, and I asked him, hey man, do you mind if we take a picture together? Big fan. So we took a picture together, and I posted it, and then and it was great. It felt good. And then this is where I fucked up. So then it comes out. I'm there with two of my buddies. A friend of mine that I met at Burning Man the year before.
Okay.
And he lives in South Carolina, and he had drove out to meet me at Art Basel.
Okay.
You know about Art Basel?
Yep.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Dude, I would love to.
You've never been?
I have never been, but I would love, and I knew some people that actually were able to bring their art there.
It's great, bro.
Anyways,
it's inspiring for you, for sure, if you're an artist. And it's just fun. You get to see so many different mediums of art, that you just wouldn't.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, how the fuck did they come up with this?
So
idea?
back to where was I? I'm sorry.
You were talking about the guy that you met up at Burning
so
Man.
I brought, so I brought, he brought his friend and my buddy from South Carolina. They drove down, and they were like, kind of like, hey man, can we take a picture with them too? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, no man. But they were just right there, like kind of looking at me. He couldn't see them, Alex Gray, and I'm not. And so they're just like, bro, look at me like bro, can you like hook us up? And I'm just like, and then that's where I found, I'm like, hey Alex, my friends want to take a picture too. And then he's just like, he just gave me the like, and the funny part was is he just like really connected for a quick second.
Yeah,
and he was like, I think he even said like my name. He's like, Yaniv. And I was just like, damn it, I just fucked that up.
That is a great story.
That's my Alex Gray story.
That is a great story.
I didn't realize I had an Alex Gray story until I just told it to you. But that was my story.
Yeah. Fucked it up.
Fucked it up, man.
Our
I could have just been like,
moment is gone.
yeah, I took one for the team, I guess. Just look, yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah, his art is just, I mean, there's many people have already talked about his stuff, but it's super trippy. That was the first time I ever did mushrooms.
to listening to that album or looking
No,
at
no,
the
no,
art or what?
no. What I'm saying is like the first time I ever did mushrooms, I remember. Well, I don't know. I don't think it was the first time. I think it was the first or second time. I
But
remember that.
obviously it was a significant time, right?
It-
Because you're remembering this,
Yeah, well, it was during the pandemic, I believe.
and you're talking about shiitakes, right?
Yes, absolutely. Shiitake mushrooms, absolutely. So we, no, they were maitake mushrooms.
Oh yeah.
One of those
Those are
two.
good too.
Deb and I, she's like, hey, you wanna? I'm like, sure, let's try it. And we were watching TV. And my fucking TV is 75 inches. I think it's fucking massive,
size
bro.
of a wall.
Yeah, it is literally the size of a wall.
Well, how old are you at this point?
Oh, well, this is 2-3 years ago. I was 2021, so 40.
So 20 years ago?
No, 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago. That was my first time
First time.
consuming maitake mushrooms.
Wow.
So she goes like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we had a piece of chocolate, and bro, we were watching. I will never forget that we were watching that movie with Russell Brand, and it's
Takes me to the Greek.
forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh yeah, that's a great film. Hilarious.
Great film.
Yeah. So is that where did you get the laughies and just lose your shit, or?
Oh, it's so intense. I mean, I was laughing, and all of a sudden there was a. But what I was saying, like there's a scene where they're like talking, and they're all five of them are in the shot, and I start seeing exactly what Alex Ray was paints. His
Oh
paintings.
yeah.
I'm starting to see like all the meridians and all. I'm like on these guys on the TV. I'm like, holy shit, that shit is true. But anyways,
And you just take one like piece, but you don't even know what amount you took.
I mean, they told me to eat like it was like I think it was like a 3.5.
You ate half.
The whole. I ate like maybe a third.
Okay, so like over a gram,
So,
over a gram.
Yeah,
That's a good dose.
it was.
It's not a microdose for sure, and it's not a hero dose.
Exactly.
It's just that it's
It
a
was
dose.
It's
a good dose.
It was a good dose,
Well, yeah.
dude. And then they started getting into this like argument, and everything magnifies. And I was like really like I felt like I was in that fucking conversation in the argument on the movie, and I'm like, fuck, this is not okay. Like I'm like,
You know what? It's your friends. I feel like and no offense to your friends. I feel like they did you a disservice. I feel like you're better off in nature. You're better off with no electronics. You're better off like, you know what? Like if you're experienced and you like want to see what it's like on TV, like there's certain movies and things you can do watch that they're trippy, they're funny, that you could watch, sure. But I think there's so much way better time spent experiencing psilocybin. And it doesn't always have to be like, ceremonial and so serious. It could be in a fun way, but even that would, be in a different environment. And mushrooms really are, everyone will tell you, it's mood and setting. If you're in a shitty mood, you're going to have a shitty trip. If you're in a shitty setting, you're going to have better chances of you having a shitty trip. You know what I mean? You don't want to have the, responsibility. You don't have to be somewhere. You don't have to answer a phone and,
right.
there has to be nothing. You have to be clear.
Yeah.
And
my friends they didn't really tell me what I needed to do. So, but I have heard it from other people say like you need to be in nature.
Yeah. And let's not, we don't have to use the word need because they don't need to tell you. And there's the mushrooms will tell you what to do.
True.
But yeah,
but it was an experience that I remember. I'm like, babe, let's just turn off the TV. So we turn off the TV and we're just talking. We just like vibing, and then I have the painting of the octopus and the hand over there, the far left. I don't know if you can see it from here, but there's a painting of a hand with an octopus that I made, around the same time. And so now I'm looking at at the painting, and the fucking hand is like coming at me, bro. It's like moving towards me now. The octopus is moving, and I'm just like, holy shit. Then what happens? The whole room starts to expand and contract. So as I'm breathing and inhaling and exhaling, the room is doing the exact same thing with me. It's like,
It's a beautiful thing.
I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. I'm like, okay, I'm being a little bit too overly stimulated. Let's just go to the room. Let's just lay down. I laughed for 4 hours, Yaniv.
The best.
I laughed for 4 hours.
But how good did it feel?
It felt
It feels
amazing,
so
bro.
good to laugh. I mean, people,
Amazing.
it's underrated how therapeutic laughing is. It is like, it is so good. I mean, this is like, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not a good comparison, but it's a natural high of it. Like almost, you can get an orgasm high, like where, it feels good. Those endorphins and, I mean, and those, they've created those memories where you're just like crying with your friends, where you have to like leave, and if you hear the voice and you just start again, and
yeah,
that's fun.
It
Feels
was
so good.
such a great time. I was like, Deb is like, shut up, like you're gonna wake up your sister or something. Like, I couldn't stop. Any word that she would say, anything that would come out of her mouth, I was just cracking up. Next day, I couldn't even go to work.
Just wait.
I was completely done. Physically, emotionally, I couldn't even move, bro. I had to call in.
And that's all you did? You did you drink alcohol? Nothing?
No. That was all I did, but I was like completely like just like I couldn't move.
Yeah.
I called him like
How long did it take you to
cannot-
recover?
I mean the whole day.
Yeah.
Like the whole day.
I mean, I could see that, you getting worn out like that. And I mean, even
like worn out, like
Yeah.
because I couldn't. I laughed like my stomach, my everything
sore,
hurt.
your jaw sore. Oh, that's so
Dumb, bro.
Love
But it
it.
was a very memorable experience. But I have never laughed in my life so fucking hard. Even that was like, dude, like it's been 4 hours. Shut up.
That's great. I love it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
those
god.
experiences are fun. Yeah, they're but yeah, going into experiences, whether they're big or small, having an intention for them, I think, is like so important. And even just like, I'm gonna have fun with my friends, like just have said, so that way like, oh, why did I take this? So you can always go back to like, oh yeah, my intention was to have fun. Like I'm gonna have fun. Like it's all good. Or I'm gonna focus on this, or I'm gonna work on my breath, or whatever. Let me take it where it's gonna take me. It's a powerful medicine. And a lot of people are finding out about it. I think it's good. I think it's great.
It is. The second experience that I had with it was also we were here at the house as well. And that time I remember I told them, I'm like, I don't want to do any. Let's not watch TV. I'm like, I don't want to watch TV. I don't want to be hyper stimulated or overly stimulated, whatever the word is. So, but we had it on. We had it like use some images of the ocean, right? So they could like they could like go really deep into like the deep blue of the ocean. And they would come up. So there was a variation of blues, right? I used to have a painting. I don't have it anymore. And it was literally right across from the TV. It was a yellow painting. I don't know if I mentioned this to you. And it was like different types of yellow, and it had some red and blue as well. Bro, what a fucking badass experience I had with that painting. I wasn't looking at the TV. I was kind of like glancing once in a while, but I was like facing the painting. And the painting was alive the whole time. Like the colors, the blue color bouncing on the painting, on the yellow. It was like somebody had a switch on the painting, turning it on and off, dimming it, raising the color. Deb and I were like, whoa, we spent hours just looking at that freaking painting, bro.
Isn't it amazing, like, the power of being present? Because that's really what it is that you're just ultra present and seeing and appreciating actually, like, what is happening right now at this moment and how powerful that is of an experience. And that's why I think they're so powerful. Is that, and you can, they carry over into your daily life where you can, you know, do that. And that's why microdosing has become so popular.
Hmm.
Is because you can sort of achieve that space of flow state. I was actually thinking about that word today because I just love it, being in that flow state, like where when you're painting something or when you're doing a sport or whatever, in your daily life it could be happening where you're in that flow state and just being ultra present but just flowing.
Do you feel that you get into that flow state when you're doing your music?
um yeah, it depends on, there's so many, I feel like there's so many variables, but yeah, I I I strive to get myself there on my own without needing a crowd or a thing.
Hmm.
But it helps when there's crowds involved and there's a big crowd, they're dancing and they're,
That energy,
the energy, you
right?
feed off that. I mean, most people do. It's, you know, I think, but yeah, but sometimes you are the energy, you create the energy, and so that's,
That's I mean, that is definitely a skill, like either like you're born with that shit where you are.
I heard you talking to, I Mitch.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
About that. Yeah, I
yeah.
listened to that. I love that
Uh,
podcast. That was great. And I was thinking about, it's funny that you just brought that up because I was thinking about that when I was listening to that podcast. I was like, I wonder, like, is it true? Like, do you just have it? Or, like, I don't know. Like, because some people work their asses off to get to those things. And I guess I see what you're saying. Like, some people have to work their asses off to get to the same space where some people are just like so natural at it. Right. And then if you add that hard work to that naturalness, then you have greatness.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
which is
absolutely.
which is why a lot of people, like, you hear like about people not maximizing their potential, right? Because you see, like, there's some people are very skilled, but they don't keep mastering their craft. And I mean, we're all guilty of it in so many ways. I
That
mean, not all. I mean, there's some people who are masters at all their crafts, but but
that is a great point that you just brought up right now. Like a lot of people are not able to reach their potential. And how many times we have heard, it's or we have even told other people, or people have told us, "Oh my God, you're so good at this. You're so good at that. You're gonna be so good at this or so good at that." But unless we truly believe it, right? It happens. Other than that, if we don't have that belief in ourselves, we can have freaking half of the world telling us that we're fucking amazing at something, and we're still not gonna do it.
100%,
Right?
100%.
And where does that come from? Right? What is that? Does that have to do with the environment that we grew up with? Does that have to do with certain experiences that we had throughout our lives, and that place that false belief in our heads?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
feel like it was for me. In that case, I feel like something happened in my head that I find, excuse me, I find it really hard to fully on like 100% just be on like yes with this podcast, for example, right? Like it's, and that's the reason why I did it, is because I want to be able to be better at communicating, right?
yeah, yeah.
And like I told you earlier, getting out of the comfort zone with the cameras, with the lighting, with my voice, and that's my goal to achieve that. But people that don't have that opportunity, and people that have that potential, and you can see it in them, how do they reach it? It's like is that fear, right? Being able to take that step out of that box that's going
Well,
to lead you towards something very different to what you're
well,
already used to it.
right. Well, that's the difference between the people that make, that put in the effort and actually try, and then and people that don't. I mean, there's you get what you put in always. I believe that. I believe that it's it always comes down to that. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter if you were born with something. I mean, I guess unless you're a model, or like, you're born beautiful, like you're just, it's not like a skill that you acquire. You're just, it's like Zoolander.
it right. And I mean, have you ever run into okay, during high school, were you like a popular kid?
Um, I mean, I guess you could say popular, but yeah. I mean, I wasn't like the. I guess yes. Is the short answer. I guess I was popular. I was just really friendly with all the
We
kids.
were friendly.
Yeah. My mom always taught me like be nice to everyone. She's just like, she was just always very like welcoming and
Okay. What
you
high
know.
school do you go to?
I went to Fountain Valley High School.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to
Okay.
Fountain Valley High School,
Okay.
and so I was friends with everybody there, and the different groups because I played music. So, you know, freshman I was naive. I was like, I want to try out for the band, and then all my friends were playing football. So I was like, oh, and I'd never played football like growing up. All my friends had played, Pop Warner and all these things, and I'd always wanted to play. Like, my family didn't know, where to take me to play football. It wasn't like, my parents weren't born here.
Okay.
I wasn't even born here.
Oh, really?
No, yeah, I'm actually I was born in Israel,
Okay.
and I came to the United States when I was 3.
All right.
With my brother who was 2, and my mom and dad,
Okay.
and my dad's side of the family,
Okay.
his sister, his brother, his parents. So I didn't grow up, playing football. My family started watching it and this and that, but then when I got into high school, I thought it was a cool opportunity. Like, I'm gonna try play sports, and so you when I went to try out for the band because I'd been playing music, at that point for like my whole more than half my life, right?
Yeah.
I started really young, so I wanted to play. Like, oh, try out for the band. They were like, we want you. You do the tryout. I'm like, great. I knew my rudiments. I knew my stuff. I was like, great. I want to be like, I want to be awesome. I want to be awesome. And then I was like, well, what times when's the practice and when's rehearsal? Because I want to do football. And they're like, the guy looked, the director looked at me. He's like, football. We play during the games. I was just like, oh,
Like,
you
ah,
dummy.
crap.
I'm like, that's how much I didn't. I knew. I was like, oh, so then I went to football. So
So you picked football instead of.
I picked football instead of which was fun, but in retrospect, it would have been cool to like do band and like really work on my chops and my skills for drums
Right.
but it was cool. I mean, I still played in bands, throughout high school, and I still played and got to do football and like have that experience, in high school. So that's what I meant is like, I was friends with the bandos, I was friends with the football players, I was friends with like, the heavy metal kids because I, listen to him. I was friends with the hip hop kids. I was friends. It's just like
You just like
I just
people. You
like
just were able
people.
to.
Yeah, I'm able to like maneuver in different circles of my whole life, and I don't know. I think I attribute that to my mom and dad. They're very, very like
Very
personable,
very
friendly
personable.
people. Yeah, they
Yeah.
just like to
Yeah.
have good conversation and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So yeah, it's always been easy for me. I know I'm not easy for everybody to just.
It isn't, and at least for me, I remember that it wasn't. I remember when I started. I mean, because I got here when I was 13, so English was it is my second language, right? So went to high school, went to college for a few years, um, but my accent never left, right? My accent stuck with me, motherfucker. It's like.
That's funny.
And there's a really funny story. There was a girl at work, and she no longer works with us. But I remember for a birthday, her and I we would always exchange gifts for birthday gifts. And I remember one day she hands me an envelope. She's like, "Oh, happy birthday!" I'm like, "Oh, thank you." I open it up, and it's a gift certificate for a speech coach. I think that's what. Yeah, I think that's what it's
But
called.
that's cool.
And I was
mean,
like,
you were offended by it?
I didn't know what to think. I didn't know how to feel. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, should I feel offended? She goes, and especially working in the area that I work in, in Newport Beach, and this is 2003, 2002. Things were a little bit different back then. Where still tattoos were frowned upon, and um, people were like, well, she goes, I think it would be cool if you kind of like work a little bit on your accent, like maybe can get rid of it. And I love her to that. Believe me, up until this day, we're great friends. I don't have but I was kind of like, hell. So I started doing like I started doing like a poll at the restaurant, being like, "Hey, can you understand what I'm saying?" Like, perfectly fine. I'm like, "Are you sure?" Like, "Yeah, you speak perfectly fine." I'm like, "All right." So I did it, and then they go like, "Why?" Well, this is the reason. They're like, "You don't need to do that shit. You keep your accent. Your accent is fucking badass. Don't do ever do that." I'm like, "You know what? You're right." So I never
Yeah.
cashed out on that certificate, and but it's funny because like my younger sister, and I think it has to do with the age, obviously, when you get here, right? It has to do with a certain age. For example, you got here when you were 3, you were barely learning how to how to speak, right?
Sure, sure. Like
So
my parents came here, they had accents. Like
yeah,
they still
they
have
still do.
accents, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they still
yeah,
do.
yeah.
So at 13, my English I consider to be pretty good, but it's hard to be able to remove the accent, and sometimes it is kind of hard to communicate, especially for example with Deborah's mom. She's from Australia, and sometimes she looks at me. We're kind of like, what? So then Deborah has to translate basically what I
English to
was what I was saying
Spanglish to English to Australianish. Yeah,
to Australia.
yeah, and that could be hard to understand on its own too sometimes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I make so much fun
depending
of
on
that.
where the region. I suppose.
Yeah. You say
Yeah,
you
it can
were in
get thick.
Australia, right? You lived in Australia.
No, 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 no.
Didn't you? Or you said that you went to Australia?
Nope, nope, never
No.
been. No, I would like to. I'd like to. I've no, never been to Australia.
No, I don't know who it was. And then they said that they lived in Australia for a little bit. Anyways, so why why did you decide to pick up the drums? Like out of the guitar, drums. Like what was it? What attracted you to it? And
Um,
I'm sorry, really before you answer that,
yeah, yeah,
I think you were mentioning something earlier about how now there's towards electric drums.
yeah, yeah.
And I was gonna mention something there that how different it is, and I think it also has to do with the vibration, right?
Between electric
Electric
and acoustic,
and acoustic, right? When
for
you're doing
sure,
the
for
acoustic,
sure,
you feel a vibration.
for sure.
When you do the electric ones,
When
it's
you're
like tuk, 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 right?
well, yeah, for sure. I mean, depending on like, I mean, if you have like some good headphones and a good system, sure. But no, there's a feeling to actually slamming on the drums, like when you really figure out how to play and put your energy into the drum to produce the sound that comes out, energy in, energy out, then it really, then it starts to really rock. You can really sort of like get that sound that you want, attack, boom. So yeah, drums are just like it's just I guess, I think that's one of those things where you're sort of attracted to it because of the way you just your rhythm, the I don't know, it's just something attracted me to it and I just loved it. I just loved slamming on drums and like keeping the backbeat and having that four on the floor they call it, just cranking. Just feels good. I loved it.
Do you know how to play?
It's simple,
Do you know how to play guitar?
I do not. I do
Hmm.
not know play guitar. I mean, I took, I played for like did some lessons, learned some chords and stuff, but I never really kept with it, which is what it all is. It's just so I always had like such amazing guitarists around me and bass players that and I could still and I
Right.
could have taken advantage of having them teach me, but I just always wanted to play with them instead of just like have them teach me their knowledge. I wanted to like create with them,
Mm.
and like see what I can do to support their song or their vision or I always loved that
Right.
adding or you know
Because
writing vocal lines.
drummers, they are considered to be like the heart of the band, right?
Sure, I mean, yeah, it's the backbone, that and the bass, the rhythm section. It's good
Between
stuff.
those two,
The good stuff. I mean, yeah.
can you play? Can you play in a band without bass but with drum?
I mean, you could. You could. There's been bands that have done it, but it's much more fun with bass. It's that thunder.
Really?
You know.
No, no, no,
Take
no,
out the
no.
bass out of take that. Just
Out
take
of-
one of your songs. Take the bass out, and you're gonna be like, "Song's all right." You'll see it's a trip when you take that bass out. You're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything's there for a reason.
Yeah.
It's that magic when you put that stuff together. It's just honey, something about it.
Yeah.
It's just that's why it is. It's that magic sauce. Just goes together. Put it in there, stir it up, and drink it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love music. It's a fun thing. But you were asking about the drums, right? Like, and I answered that question.
I don't know. Did you?
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
About how like you asked why, how did I pick the drums or how did
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
pick the
Yeah.
drums?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, just like I still like walk. Sometimes I'll catch myself drumming on it. And I'm like, oh, I hope I'm not annoying everybody. But as a kid, I'd always be on my, playing, singing in the car, and so it just came natural. And then that became natural too. Is just learning to play drums and singing.
That's
And that was the funnest thing to do. Growing up in the garage and playing with your friends in the warehouses. Throughout the years, is, playing and singing, and I played in cover bands and sang songs in the drums like for years too, like all kinds of stuff. Locally here in Newport, it's fun. I mean, I still do sometimes. Sometimes like I'll get called and like my buddy will be like, "Hey man, I don't have a drummer. Do you want to come play?" And it's like 40 songs, and you're like, "Okay, I know 30 of these." And on the way there, you're like, like during the day, I'm like listening to these songs. Like,
what do you do with the other 10?
You listen to them that day. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, and hope to get them. Yeah, and usually do. Yeah, you might miss like a punch or two, but nobody notices. Everyone's drunk at the bars. And shit.
Well, I mean, I think I don't know if you've seen there's.
I promise you.
Very, very true.
Unless it's like your song and you're like, wait a minute, that's not, but you're not gonna know. You're not.
There is there is a channel on YouTube, and there are these guys who bring in drum players, and they show them a certain song.
Oh,
have you seen that one?
It's
Isn't that
epic? Absolutely epic. And for anybody listening, if you haven't seen it, it is worth seeing. Yeah, I love it. They're basically taking the drummers.
Yeah, and they're like,
first run. Do you know the song? Usually they find a song they don't drummer never heard of or out of their genre that they've never played.
Right.
And they're like, play the song. It's brilliant.
Right.
And some of they do a great job.
And that's what I'm saying.
I love that. Because every drummer picks like, okay, what would I do here? And and it's not your genre. So like, and sometimes it is. Sometimes these drummers are like, studio drummers, they're just like, but you don't, when you have a band there, they're describing the vibe and they're helping you out with that. If you're just thrown to the wolves, like, you're like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
On this is what I think goes here, and it's fun to watch because that's the way I feel about it too. It's like, that's the one thing when you play in bands, and especially if you've ever played in a band where you're replacing somebody, right? For certain bands, there's like, you have to play the part. You have to know the part. But there's certain places where you can put in your own flavor. I mean, not with some of the bigger national acts because you're a hired gun. I'm talking about like where you're still part of the band writing, the next record with them or whatever. Sometimes you add your own flavor even to the older songs where you might make it better. It's just you. It's your style. Like, you don't need to play the other drummer's part. You need to play the part.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's what's most important, is playing the part that the song needs, that belongs in the song, not for yourself to be like, oh, this is me.
Yeah.
You want to play the part of the song without overplaying it or
exactly.
underplaying it. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
so that's like that was my comment. It's like seeing these guys. So that he brought me back to, that's basically pretty much what you would do sometimes. It's like going to this to do these covers, and you kind of like, fuck, well, I'm gonna have to just get creative here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Isn't that a good feeling to be put in the spot? And at that moment, you have
way better.
Right?
It's the best feeling. Yeah. So
it pushes you to do.
It's so much
It
more
pushes
fun.
those juices to come out.
Look, I like playing covers is fun, right? When you're first learning, like, it's fun because you and somebody else can learn the same thing and do it together. So it's fun to play covers, and but then there's some people who don't want to play covers. They just want to like make sounds and do original stuff. And to me, like as I got older, I found the 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 gigs where I got hired to play drums, where they were like, "Hey man, just show up," and you're like, "Okay." No songs. They're like, "No, just show up." You're like, "Okay." And I've done a lot of those. You'll be surprised. I mean, a ton of these guys go out there and there's just like, and they're just doing freestyle. Like, what are you playing? And the guy on the keys be like, looking at the guy on the guitar and be like, G, let's go G. Okay, cool. And we just make up a song right there on the spot. And people in the audience think that we rehearsed it, and we just made that shit up. And that is the most magical thing that there is out there in music, in my opinion, that I've ever experienced, where you're just like, holy shit, we just made a song. And there's so many times, and anybody that's ever been in a band that's been played in a garage or in a warehouse will tell you, they've written these songs where they're like, it was the coolest song, but we just didn't record it and we can't remember it. It was here and now it's gone. And that's fucking magical, dude. That's what I love about music. That's what I love about drums and playing them when I could just like put in my own part, like and express myself, and how I'm feeling that moment, that day, that second, not pre-planned. You know,
There is
it's fun.
there is the okay. So there are two things that I kind of want to talk about when this comment that you made. One of them is I love music. I was, my parents, same thing, like with you. Like I was always around music my whole life. Um, my father, he introduced me to a lot of Cuban music back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I mean, Cuban music was just like absolutely a mambo. And there's Celia Cruz and all these amazing artists and voices. And but what I was going to say is, he had a guitar, and I always wanted to learn how to play guitar.
Why don't you?
I this is the thing,
Hmm?
repetition,
Yeah.
repetition,
What's holding you back? What's holding you back?
it's
10
it's
minutes a day, 15, 20 minutes a day. You have it? You have
I
that time?
I
If you
think
don't, then
it's not that I don't have the time, it's that I get bored. That is my problem. Like I get bored so easily with something like, I'm repeating it, repeating it, repeating it. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
very,
but I
very
mean,
stupid
so look,
way
but
of thinking.
nowadays though, it's so much easier than when like, as from 10 years and 15 and 20, like you have YouTube now where it's like you don't have to be that repetitive. You just have to learn a few chords for the song that you want to play, or like you can learn 3 to 5, 6, 7 chords and like come up with your own songs in like a matter of a few days of practice. It's a trip. It's a trip, but it is, yeah, it's about repetition though, because you learn the chord, then changing from this chord to that chord, and it's anything in life, man. Anything,
Yeah,
right?
and that's the thing.
Fuck.
It's just having to have that time of like, and maybe like let's say last time I really sat down and wanted to learn how to play guitar was like 2003, 2004, right? So the obviously the technology was not there as it is right now. Like you mentioned, it can be a lot easier probably for me to remember these chords. But my point is, did you ever study music?
Um, very little. Most of it was done by ear.
Okay.
Most of my learning. Um, when I got my drum kit, my parents put me into a lesson. And most of that, like especially back then, I feel like the older instructors, and we're talking in the '80s at this point. Or like early '80s. I was probably like I don't even know 8 or 9, and you're like trying to teach you to learn rudiments. You're just like, this is boring, and then they're just like, so, but you don't understand that as a kid, that like learning these things are going to help you be a better drummer. You're just like, oh, this shit's boring, I want to like learn how to play. But nowadays it's like you have so many tools at your disposal. Like I said, from YouTube to having a electronic drum kit
Right.
where you could just be on your headphones and like be practicing and no one can hear you, and watching videos on tips and tricks and watching and actually watching, because the difference between back then too is like I would play records and literal records, and tapes and CDs, and like play them over and over to like listen to the drum part, like, oh, what is he doing there? Oh, is it a kick and then a snare and then what is he doing? Oh, oh, that's so cool. There's a fill, and it's hard, but when you see it, like, oh, that's the pattern. It's way easier, and like that's why some people, you go see him live, and you're like, oh, that's what he's doing on that part. It's so cool, and you're like, oh, it's simple. It's this pattern, but he's doing it on these drums instead of like on here, and you're like, oh, cool. So it makes it easier to learn, and even the songs that you like from your artist, and so many people are out there putting up covers of them doing the drums and teaching the parts, that it's like you have no excuses.
No, I
You have no
truly,
excuses, Leo.
I truly
That's
don't.
it. I'm calling you out.
Please
I'm
do.
calling you out right here on the show.
And I truly don't nowadays.
I mean, we're all guilty of it. I mean, there's like I said, I have a beautiful guitar that for my friends, my brother, and a couple of my friends chipped in to get me, and I played it for a while, and it's like still there in my house. Friends come over, they're like, "Well, it's a nice guitar," and they play it, and I'll sing with them and play the congas, but like I didn't really, once in a while I'll pick it up and like, oh yeah, I remember these three chords, and I'll like play three chords and
Yeah,
fucking.
and I mean, now I can strum to some songs. Like if I see the chords, I'm like, I know which chords, I know how to play it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I do
you.
know. But now where I was going with this is, like you mentioned, how in the hell do you create a song by like saying like, oh yeah, we're on G or we're on A minor? You know what I mean? It's like
It's that magic, bro. It's that
that,
magic,
right?
Yeah.
Like
It's
once again, not everybody can do it.
no. It's a special
Right?
skill.
It is. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm
It
getting
takes
to.
a lot of years, in my opinion, of doing that kind of stuff to be able to like know the feel. Like they'll know, like, hey, oh, right here's, oh yeah, we're building up. Oh, go to G, and they'll just dun, and they'll just know. You just know where you're going, and it's like you know when to stop, and you know when it just that's that magic ether that exists there, and when you reach that point together, it's it's a very spiritual space.
It is.
It's a spiritual
It
space.
truly is. Like I think that's where what I'm trying to is like it's such a magical moment, um, that you're able to achieve when you get to that precise moment, right? When you're playing with the people that you know and you're familiar with, and you guys are all in the same frequency. You guys, there's that feeling that you guys like.
100%. But it's even just as magical, and maybe even more, I might argue, when it's with people you don't know.
Hmm.
Where you just like you just met these cats, and you're like, oh hey, oh cool, we're playing. And then at the end of the night, everyone's just like high fiving, like, what? Yeah, everyone's just like, what? You guys have never, I never played with these guys before. No, we never played together. And people are like, what? And that's, I mean, that happened to me a lot. Yeah, it's the funnest time that you can have as a musician.
That's
In my opinion, again, like it is the funnest. And I've, been around the block a little bit,
yeah.
but
That's
it's fun.
Sounds
It's fun.
amazing.
It is. It's fun.
Now with the whole feel that you get from music, there is, I don't know if you have ever listened to it. It's called, the name of the song is called Concierto de Aranjuez, and it's a very old song. It was like written like in 1930s and by a Spanish guy, Joaquin Rodrigo. And and you know what I'm talking about. Like, well, the minute that I'll play it for you, you're gonna be like, oh, I know what you're talking about. It has been covered by hundreds of musicians: Miles Davis, Rodrigo, Paco de Lucia, the Spanish flamenco guitar player. And I remember one time I listened to it. I was watching a movie. I think it came out on the movie RoboCop, the newest one, 2014, 15 came out the movie. And they played it there. And I was like, oh my God, that is such a beautiful song. And I remember that night I went to sleep and I was playing. I had my Spotify on and I was looking for something that I could that resonated with me. Right. I went through all these different covers. Like I said, Miles Davis has a really good one, but I'm like, kept looking, and I find the one by Jim Hall, which is a guitar jazz player. Bro, it's 20 minutes long, but it's one of the most fucking beautiful pieces that you will ever hear.
You have to send it to me. That sounds amazing.
And it's like I say, so the players are is going to be Jim Hall on the guitar, Paul Dimon on the sax, Chet Baker on trumpet, Roland Han on piano, Ron Carter on bass, and Steve Gadd on drums. This guy was able to get these guys in one fucking room
Yeah, some hitters.
and play this song.
Yeah, I would love to see. I would love to hear that. Yeah, send it to me.
You listen to it, and after I tell you this, you're gonna be like, I know what he's trying to tell me is I would have given anything to be in that fucking studio, recording studio, to just see the vibe that was going on with them, with them.
Is that the one song, like, if you could pick, like, you wanted to be in a studio to see what was happening when that song was written and to be there in the studio? That would be the one?
The one song.
I never even thought about that. That's actually a cool sort of like fantasy. Like, what artist or song song that was when it was recorded, you could be there to hear
and listen to them. I mean, just because nowadays, with the technology, right? I mean, let's say you're the drummer, I'm a guitar player, and let's make a song. We don't even have to be in the same room anymore, right? We can be fucking miles apart on the other side of the world, and we can create a fucking song.
Postal service,
right? But what I'm trying to say is, like, imagine being in that room, vibing with the drummer,
no,
bass.
Tell me about it.
I mean, I'm just imagining the feeling, right?
Remember that time? Yeah, it's cool, man.
And I'm like, I'm sure those guys were like, fucking probably even smoking a joint, drinking some bourbon or whatever, they fancy, and you just like sitting there doing the exact same thing. Just like, I would have paid to see that.
Man,
I would have paid to fucking see that shit, dude.
Yeah, that's
and I'm gonna send you the link to the song on Spotify, dude.
Great.
Like I said, 20 minutes long. Up until today, it is the one song that it resets my brain. Whenever I have a lot of shit, and holy shit, and I forgot about it. Haven't done it in a minute. But usually when there's like stuff going on in my head, I fucking put that song on and I have it on repeat. And my brain goes into this state, this flow state, and starts to figure out shit. But that is the song that it is one of the most beautiful songs that I have fucking ever listened to, bro. Just because of the vibe. You can hear every instrument. He starts with the guitar, and then you can hear the sax slowly coming in. Cool. And then he brings them in, right? So he's playing the guitar, then they sax and the guitar, and then the guitar stops, and then the sax that's playing. Does his solo, does his thing, and then he starts bringing the piano, and then they both play together, and then the sax stops and the piano goes, and then the piano brings the trumpet and piano, they play together, it stops, and then the drummer.
I can feel you really feel the music, huh?
It's a fucking masterpiece, bro.
You know what I was thinking now that I kind of had a second to think while you're talking. Mm-hmm. I think if I could pick, if it's a song, I'd rather pick an album, but the song
of course,
that I could sit there and be like just a fly on the wall would probably be Nirvana's Nevermind album.
Really?
Yeah, I just know, just to experience that energy of that when that came out, like that was affected. I mean, I love that album too. That time, and I'm a huge Dave Grohl fan.
That guy is a beast, dude.
Talented beast. So, I would. I think that would be one for me to see, just to feel that first in Smells Like Teen Spirit. You'd just be like, what the fuck is? this is it. This is next. This is what's next. This. I'm hearing that.
I mean, it changed music.
Fucking
It changed
Changed
music.
everything.
It changed
everything.
fucking everything, dude.
That
Yep.
was it needed. It was like saved the day right then. It's so good.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean,
then it followed up with some good stuff too. I mean, that was arguably like just the best time in music in that whole era, man.
I want to say maybe
So
like
good.
late 60s, early 70s, and the 90s.
I mean, all the way
Right?
up until
I mean, even the 80s, dude.
90s.
Prince,
Oh, please, Michael Jackson.
you know.
I mean, I can go all day. We can talk music all day.
Yeah,
So
but definitely
good.
the 90s was a point, especially with the grunge area, with the and like Temple of the Dog,
Yeah, Alice in Chains and
Alice in
Pearl
Chains,
Jam.
Pearl Jam.
Yep. Yep. All
Uh,
my favorites. I mean, that's on my rotation.
dude,
That's on my rotation.
dude.
All that stuff.
Yeah, I love Alice in Chains. Their unplugged album,
I mean, yeah, that's like one of the best of all times. One of the best.
hands down,
One of the best albums of all
fucking
time.
amazing.
Do you have
Nutshell.
you own records?
Not records, no, like vinyls.
Yeah, vinyl.
No.
You have CDs still?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I gave away my whole CD collection.
No, I have my boxes literally there in my
I
garage.
had one like this whole wall filled, and then I kept withering it down, and just I had like my stack of like my favorite albums, like, which was still like a couple hundred albums at
Mhm,
least.
mhm.
And I remember just giving them to my friend because I was just like I didn't have room for them all.
Well,
But it would be nice to like if I could go back, I would probably try to hold on to them
mm,
and just like not rely on all the digital versions and just I got my own
yeah.
off grid.
Yeah.
Like off
Yeah.
grid. I mean, I
Because
guess you could
le-
just
le-
put them on a hard drive,
hypothetically
but then like your hard drive would crash. Like
yeah.
it
Like you
could
say,
cra-
hypothetically speaking, it's a fucking another world. There's no electricity. Well, let's just say that there's not Spotify.
sure.
What
No
what
internet.
are you gonna
Let's say
listen
no
to?
internet.
Exactly, no Wi-Fi.
Why? Now what?
What are you gonna
What are we
listen
gonna
to?
do? What are we gonna do?
I mean, you're gonna. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have vinyl.
I would.
Not all my favorite bands, which is like kind of a anybody that's ever collected vinyl will tell you it's a fucking addiction. It's tough. Like not to and depends on what level. If you're a DJ or back, some people are still collecting. Like I mean, they're still like buying vinyl like it's
Yeah.
like the 80s.
Yeah.
And even the 90s because Serato didn't come around till 2000.
Mm.
Until then it was all vinyl, and then
Yep.
2000 people were like we're on computers, and we're like I was like
Yep.
what? Okay,
Wow.
2001 I was already like DJing on a computer. It was a trip. I didn't have to carry around like
LimeWire.
5 crates.
LimeWire.
Oh, downloading on
Downloading fucking
LimeWire,
LimeWire.
everything. Yeah, I was getting all my tracks
And then
on.
you get a virus. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, that was the good times. The good times. But back then you couldn't get a virus on the Mac. So you just go on the Mac, and I was downloading.
Well,
It
I
just
mean,
didn't work. You just
I'm
throw it in the
sorry,
trash.
sir, but I
Throw it in
didn't,
the
I
trash.
didn't have a
Throw it in the
freaking Mac
trash.
back then. So
Well, it was the only way you could DJ with a computer and didn't have to carry around all your records. Was you had to buy a Mac.
oh, really?
Yeah, that's how I got introduced to Mac. I was like, it was like they didn't make the software. It was made only for Mac. They didn't come out with Windows like till 10 years later.
Mm.
You could. They had it, but it just didn't work the same. It was shit.
Mm.
And the Mac was flawless. You could just go to iTunes, download the song instead of carrying around the vinyl. And now I got my 5,000 songs in my computer instead of carrying on 5,000 records.
Right.
It
Right.
was a big jump in technology and DJing. Now we're back to the beginning of the conversation where we started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The DJ part.
Yeah, which is like technology's just made things so interesting, right? And now with AI, this is a topic everybody's talking about. I don't know if we want to go there, honestly, but it's like
I am gonna have
AI record labels. Have you heard about this?
No. I want to talk to
Have
you
you heard
about.
about this? AI record
I was
labels,
gonna.
bro.
I want to ask you about how it's gonna be the impact that AI is gonna have in let's say with DJs. I already know what's happening with music. Like I already like voices created by AI and stuff like that. But really quick, towards the end of February, I'm gonna have a really good friend of mine. His name is UJ, and he's getting his master's, but he's doing it in India. He's from India. He's a brilliant guy, dude, and he's working with AI. and I'm gonna have him on. And so if you have any questions that you would like me to ask him, write them down for me, and I'm gonna use like shooting because
I kind of don't. I mean, I guess the only question is, I don't even have a question because it's such an interesting topic. It's so new,
very
but
new.
it's like it's dangerous, bro. It's dangerous, and I see it's also very useful and pretty cool, and there's some really cool applications, but it's also just a very slippery slope, and it's, in my opinion, and now I'm getting into sort of, I don't even want to use the word conspiracy theory, but we'll just say
it is, yeah.
Is I believe, like, you there's a method for it, where you put out the problem
And then you look for the solution.
and then you offer the solution, right? I put out, so I kind of feel like that's kind of going on here with the AI. Like, it's very disruptive and also destructive in the sense that you've seen the stuff that people are like recreating your voice, they're recreating your image, and then they're using it to like extort money from people, your family, your friends. Yeah. So it's a serious thing, very dangerous, right? And if you can make that readily available to everyone, and make that technology usable for people to be able to do these type of things, which, I mean, I'm not saying it was created for that, but it's happening, right? So if now that's there and that's happening, now you're going to need a solution because I don't know now, when you're going to call the bank, or you're calling to open an account, or you're going to take a lease out on a car, that you're a real person.
Right.
I don't know. So that's the scary part, where now the solution is, you as a human are going to have an ID, a digital ID, to prove that you're a human. You need to prove that you're a living, breathing human being to be able to vote or to make a post on Instagram or Facebook. I mean, we're living literally in the most interesting times ever when it comes to just technology and to, like, just existence.
Right.
We are there. I mean, if you're familiar with Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil, so he's like, they call him, like, I think they call him the godfather of technology. He's predicted, like,
Rick?
No, Ray.
Oh, Ray.
Ray Kurzweil, Kurzwiel, right? So, he's like, he created the first keyboard with Stevie Wonder back when he was like, and he was, from a young kid, was a genius with technology, creating things. So he has a documentary called, it's called, did you pull him up?
I just pulled him up.
What's the name of the documentary? I just put it in his lap.
He has a book.
What's it called?
Called The Singularity of Near.
That's it, The Singularity. It's just
in 2005.
Yeah. So there's a movie, his documentary called The Singularity, and it's an interesting watch. You should. And
I want to check it out, dude.
Yeah. This is where he talks about the meeting of AI and humans, and how we become part of the AI. Like, that's his. I mean, that's this guy.
2012. The movie.
It's kind of creepy, to be honest.
The movie was 2012.
The movie was 2012.
The Singularity.
It's definitely worth watching.
I'll check it out.
Mm-hmm. And it's about us becoming robots, and the technology going inside of us. Not the robots taking over. We become the robots, and that's. I
listened to Joe Rogan one day, and he was pretty much just talking about the whole thing. How it's going to come to a point where we are going to become one with technology. Where technology is pretty much going to be, installed within us.
But where does that? But is there going to be space on this earth for just the people who just want to be human? You don't think
Absolutely
so?
not.
You don't think so?
Well. I mean,
So what we become everything. The whole world becomes a machine.
that's what.
And
Yeah,
it's a,
that's what I'm saying. It's like in this case, in him.
I mean, I think that's like a dystopian dream.
Very. He brought up a really good point. We're saying is like, okay, so whoever it's able to, for example, with the whole thing that Elon Musk has going on, that the stuff that he wants to like install in people's brains. No, he
Neuralink.
wants the
Neuralink.
Neuralink thing, and who's going to be the first ones to be able to afford it? The people that have money, right?
I don't. I think they're gonna make it cheap because they're gonna want everybody to do it. I don't think it's gonna be expensive. You think it's gonna be expensive? I think it's gonna be like you think a luxury thing. No, they're gonna make it like
Well, I think they
like
have
getting
they have
it's
they
gonna
have
be
they-
like getting an I think it's gonna be like cheaper than getting an iPad for your kid.
but that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, so if they're gonna make it affordable and for everybody to have it, like everybody's gonna be superhuman.
I don't know. I'm still like
So
I'm good on it. I'm good. On
yo,
it.
absolutely.
I'm good. On
Like
I'm cool, bro.
I'm with you on that one.
Link, no neuro.
Did you ever see
neuro,
that
no
Black?
link.
Did you ever see that Black Mirror episode? Did you ever watch Black
no,
Mirror?
I've heard it's a good show though.
Bro, it's so
heard it's a
trippy.
good
And I
show.
mean, this is what 2015, 16, 13, 14. I think when it started, something like that. I remember watching one episode, and you just kind of like, what in the fuck is going on?
Look,
And okay,
no, go ahead.
it's about this guy that everybody has kind of like a neural link in their head, right? And in order for you to go into a federal building, for you to go let's say fly to Mexico or something like that, you get to with the officer or whatever, and they're like, okay, I need you to rewind the last 46 hours of your life. And they're like, okay.
They could see through
So
your
they
eyes.
so they can see
through your eyes.
through your
what you
eyes.
saw.
So they can see exactly what you've been doing, what you've been up to. It's like, okay, you go back 2 hours. Okay, you go back 3 days. Okay, come back this. All right, you're good to go. Boom, thank you. So this guy, I need to rewatch it again. It's a fucking trip, dude. It's one of those episodes that is like it stays within your head. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Are we really getting there? Anyways, this guy obviously encounters a girl that is like so opposed to it. She's like, I pulled that shit out of me. Like, I don't want it in my body. I want to be real. I want to live my life.
Matrix style.
Exactly.
Unplugged.
Exactly.
Cool.
The crazy thing about it, dude. You know what? I'm not even going to tell you the fucking
No.
ending
I mean,
because
just might as well. Go ahead.
so anyway, so this guy discovered that his wife is cheating on him because he starts to notice that this guy and this girl are like kind of like, and his wife are kind of like getting too little too close, and he's like, what the fuck is going on, you know? So he goes to this guy's house and it's like, you know, like you're sleeping with my wife. Whatever. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, I want you to put your your recordings on the TV. I need to see what's going on. And he goes through the recordings and he sees him having sex with a girl, but then he sees the painting that this guy has in his house. So he's like, oh, you're fucking my wife. And he storms out, goes, and anyways, gets divorced, breaks the whole relationship on. And the eerie thing about the whole thing is that he's by himself. His wife moved out. His kid is no longer there. He's in his house by himself, replaying his memories in the bed. Everything is gloomy, is dark, eerie feeling.
But he's in his
And
head.
he's in his head just like sleeping and just like going through the recordings of the happy moments that happen in his life.
That's pretty fucking creepy, dude.
Creepy, man.
Yeah, that's like some serious mind games like that. That's some good writing though.
It's great.
But I mean, you
great
know, let me
writing.
ask you this: do you believe in predictive programming, like all the stuff that they show you in the movies? That's like they're showing you what's coming down the pipe. Do you believe in that? Do you think predictive programming is real?
There's a whole thing with I think that's where the whole karma situation comes into play, right?
Karma?
Karma, because they say that the only reason why they do this is because they need to be able to.
Oh yeah.
They need
Of
to
course,
be able to,
of course.
to put it out there for people to.
Because you're giving them permission,
Exactly.
so there's no consequence for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
It's a very interesting thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, now we're getting into some really deep waters right there when we talk about that stuff. But I don't know if we want to go there. But yeah, no, I mean, it's,
You know, I
it's
mean,
a trip.
it's.
I mean, you see a lot of this stuff. I mean,
I mean, what? I mean, just what recently happened in Ohio, right? The train.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
we can go on all day about it.
but about the movie, right? That was on Netflix already. Like,
It's already there. They're already telling you everything.
and all the
That's
movie.
the crazy part. They're already telling you like ahead of time. I mean,
It's becoming very like blatant now. It's like it's out there in your face.
Have
Like
you seen that new movie that?
nowhere the new movie Netflix, dude. I have not seen it. I kind of like glimpse. I was because I was with my brother-in-law. He was watching it.
What is it called? Till the world ends or something? Till the world ends or whatever. You know what I'm talking about, right? That
Yeah,
one?
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I couldn't. Like I said, I was busy doing other things, so I never really sat down and like watched it. So I have absolutely zero idea what it's about. Like, what's the whole premise of it? I mean, all I know is like deers were gonna start like staring at you.
No. You should watch it. Oh, I mean, actually, I don't know if you'd want to watch it or not. It's all right. It's just
Just like the episode with Black Mirror, you know, just what
interesting.
like what is the premise of it?
The premise is that they're showing you a possible scenario of what is going to happen here in the United States in the near future.
Mm.
And it's very possible, like people are saying like, oh, there's not going to be an election next year because, election year people always try to go to war and then now you see all the stuff that's happening in Texas and people talking about like, I mean, that's not small stuff. They're like the feds are cutting down fences and barbed wire from what I understand
About the
from
park?
from Texas putting up this stuff for illegals coming in.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and the feds voted like 5-4
Mm.
to cut them down.
Mm.
I mean, we're talking about Texas, bro. You think Texas is gonna be like, all right, come on in, take those down?
Mm.
I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen, bro. We're living in, like I said, the most interesting times
Very stressful times.
ever. Well, when you walk out your front door, it's not that stressful. I mean, you're going to work. I mean, sure, you're feeling it in the economy right now. You're feeling it a lot. Yeah, a lot of people are feeling it right now. It's not an easy time, but generally, people I believe are good. I believe that people want to be happy and they don't want to do harm to other people. And I believe that there's a lot of people that do like to help people. And that at the end of the day, we're all want the same thing. We all want to be happy, we want peace. Right? So when you walk out your front door, I believe that that's really in most neighborhoods, in most cities, in most counties and states, that's what people want.
Right.
So I believe, like, regardless, we're going to find a way. America will find a way. People will find a way. They always seem, to figure it out. But yeah, we're here right now in in this some very turbulent and interesting political and economic times. It's
A lot of turmoil.
something historic that will be talked about in the future.
It's gonna be like
fucking sure, just like the
in like all these countries going to all these elections. There's so many countries. I think there's like 50 countries that are going into elections. Do you have you heard of Argentina? Have you heard about Javier Milei, the new president for Argentina, who's a libertarian? Dude, look into that guy. Dude, that guy is fucking. It's incredible what he's doing. It's really crazy what he's doing. It's changing. It's gonna change Argentina radically. Not just him. The guy from right now he's gonna in the process of hopefully being reelected in El Salvador, Nayib Bukele. Dude, what that guy is doing also, man. He's our age, dude. He's I think what is he like? He's 43, 44 years old. Such a young kid. And
I wish I could say I was familiar with what's really happening right now, but it's like
very interesting what's happening right now within South America, Central America, what's going to happen in Mexico. You know, our president is going to be, I think his period ends this year, and we are going to be having our first female president this year.
wow.
There's 2 girls running.
And how do like people feel about that?
Great.
Everyone's happy.
Yeah, I mean, we have always been like very like open to that. Even though it's a very macho society,
Like a
type of
real
things.
woman.
Yeah.
Not like a.
No. Yes.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I feel
no,
like
I
you
know.
have to clarify these days.
Yeah, I know. No, a real woman. It's either gonna be Claudia Sheinbaum and Xochitl. No, I don't recall her name, but it's between those 2 girls that are like about to make it to the presidency, but
Are they running against each other or with each other?
are against each other.
Oh, so they're like that. There's
Yeah, so it's gonna be a woman no matter what.
interesting.
Like it's gonna be a
Interesting.
woman no matter what. It's just a matter of like which one is gonna make it. But yeah, it's just like what's happening right now in the United States too. It's just I remember a long time ago I was taking one of my favorite class that I ever took in college was world religions, and it was with oh my God, I wanna see Mr. Velasquez, dude. What a brilliant dude. What a brilliant man. It was such a fun class to take. He was very dynamic. He was just so full of life and just whatever he talked about. And I remember he made a point. I was taking this class right around the time that September 11 happened. And he was talking. He said this. He goes, there will be a day that you're going to see, you know how you're seeing all the Mexicans coming across the United States? Because you're going to see when all the Americans are going to Mexico. And back then it's like,
This guy's
this
crazy.
guy is so fucking high right now.
No, but
like,
no. Hey, you know what?
it's
You
happening,
want to
bro.
talk about another conspiracy theory? That people are saying, why do you think they're building the walls?
because they want to keep you inside, right?
I mean,
That's the other thing that
I
you
mean,
keep
the walls
hearing.
work both ways, right? It's not just we don't have a ramp on this side, bro. You know, slide. There's not a slide going up there, a staircase on this side.
And it's just, I mean, and you see what's going on like with the many cities in many states in Mexico. You go to Guadalajara. I mean, you go to Jalisco. You go to Oaxaca. You go to Mexico City, and there's so many American people living there, bro.
And like, yeah, a lot
That
of
there's
people.
like a lot of people just
Yeah,
boom, like this is where I want to live.
transplants. I know.
You know.
Yeah.
So it like I say, it's gonna
makes
be
sense.
it's gonna be interesting what happens. This year, I think this year is what's gonna really pretty much.
Seal the deal. Well, you're gonna see. We're gonna
Right?
see a lot this year. Then 2025. I don't know. Who knows? You know what? We've been through so many in our lifetime of like this and that and more and that. It's like
But
again back to what
within the last 5 years, I mean, we just been fucking
I mean,
bombarded,
shit.
bro.
We're gonna see though. Like I said, I'm an optimist. I feel at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
like things will be all right. We're gonna figure it out.
I
We're gonna come
definitely
together. You know, my buddy has a real interesting theory, and I mean I don't think he's wrong, right? I think people are saying, oh, they're gonna shut down the grid. They're gonna shut down the grid, and that's gonna be like everything. People are gonna have electricity, and and it's gonna be chaos. And I think like this is his opinion, right? And I kind of like I think like he's onto something. He's saying, I think that's gonna work against them. I think that's gonna be how we all unite. Because everyone's stuck with their faces in the fucking phones, watching the news, and it's telling them what to do. So they'll never turn it off because it tells you what to do. So people are like, oh, they're gonna turn off the grid. It's like, how could they tell you what to do if they turn it off?
right, right.
Yeah. So it would do us a favor, but they threaten you with it, like, oh, it's gonna be shut down. It's like, Nah, because then they can't feed you all the bullshit, bro.
but
then they
then-
can't
but-
feed you the propaganda and tell you what the fuck to do.
But then again, it's our generation and that generation prior to us that think that way. So they are.
Not
It's
necessarily.
fearful to
Not
Gen
necessarily.
Z.
No,
And
not necessarily. Because, like, dude, like, but I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are still very ignorant, and by ignorant, and I mean, and there's some stupid motherfuckers too. Excuse my language, but ignorant to like what's really happening, and again, like when you watch, mainstream media, you are fed it all day long, and you watch it and you believe it, like that's a whole different kind of special. Like, and there's a lot of older generations that's just like they need to watch the news to know what's going on. It's scary. Like they I need to be informed of what's going on. It's like it's kind of been proven like that's not really what's going on.
yeah,
Go walk out your front door. You want to know what's going on in that country? Call the people that live there.
yeah.
Go watch their local news or read some, or go look on social media and do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. Like what the news is telling you really like true. Like it's been proven like to be bullshit so many times.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's just my thing. Again, like I think it'd be a blessing. I think we should turn off all our TVs, all our fucking social media, and fucking go outside to the parks and meet all your fucking neighbors,
Right.
and fucking barbecue with them,
Right.
and go and build communities.
And that's
Right?
what it is, dude. It takes a village, dude. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why again, like I'm an optimist. I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people are gonna be like, okay, we're gonna be okay.
I
As long
agree
as
with
we
you.
don't just turn into fucking robots.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I just feel that it's always something good happen. It's gonna happen. We like I say, we're being fed all this fear, and we have been under so much fear for like the last 4 or 5 years that so much shit is happening.
40,
and-
50 years, 60 years,
Dude,
100 years have
yeah.
been feeding us fear.
Well, I guess just because of social media nowadays, it's just like it's so on your face all the time, right?
Yep.
I mean, before, yeah, you could hear it, see if you watch the news and stuff like that. But now it's like you grab your phone and that shit is boom, 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 right there in your face the whole time. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think, like you mentioned, you just go outside and walk around, and it's all good.
Yeah, say hi
It's
to
all
your
fine.
neighbors and like everybody's
fine.
happy. Like life can be okay as long as you like are a good person and like have morals that and don't want to hurt anybody and want to actually contribute to the society and help people. Like things are gonna be okay. There's a lot more of us out there than people think.
I agree with you on that, brother, and I agree with you on that. And on that note, thank you very much for coming, brother. Thank you coming to.
Oh man, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I think we had
Good times.
a good time, and next time you come, I'm sure we'll be talking about so much.
Oh yeah,
More
that we can pick
shit.
up from where we left off and see. Let's
Exactly.
see how much what happens from here,
Yeah,
from this date. Let's see.
let's do that. Let's put it on the
see.
calendar.
All right.
Mr. Yaniv,
Thank you for having me.
thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.